Once upon a time, in a quiet grove hidden far from the rush of wings and worry, lived a little bird. She wasn't the fastest or the loudest. In fact, most days she barely spoke at all. But there was something quietly unusual about her. Not in the way she flew or how she looked, but in the way she trusted. While other birds darted from tree to tree, always calculating, always collecting, always preparing for what might come next, she remained still, almost motionless, gazing upward with a calm that puzzled many. One morning, an anxious murmur echoed through the forest. A storm was coming, a terrible one, with winds wild enough to split trees and rains heavy enough to flood even the safest nests. The sky turned gray with warning, and the panic began. Birds scattered in every direction, flapping and flustering, gathering twigs, warning their neighbors. "You must fly to the mountains," a sparrow urged, breathless. "Hide beneath the stones," shouted a crow. "Escape while there's time," a parrot pleaded. But the little bird only smiled, gently folding her wings as she looked up at the dark and rumbling sky. "Where will you go?" they asked, blinking in confusion. With a quiet nod, she motioned toward her nest, not perched high on a branch like the others, but tucked securely between two ancient stones beneath the tangled roots of an old oak. Hidden from the wind, grounded in stillness, the others watched in disbelief. "Have you gone mad?" they asked. "The storm will swallow you whole." And then, in the moment everyone expected her to flee, or brace, or cry, she did something that left the entire forest breathless. She closed her eyes and went to sleep. The storm arrived with fury. Winds howled, branches snapped, and the sky poured out its sorrow. Trees bent and cracked, nests tumbled like leaves, and the forest trembled in fear. But the little bird, she didn't stir, because her home wasn't rooted in a place. It was anchored in a promise. You see, she hadn't always been this way. Once, she too had feared the storm, chasing safety, building higher nests, losing sleep to anxieties that never came true. She tried to outfly fear, until one day, after yet another nest came crashing down, she asked the sky, broken and exhausted, "What do I do when I've done all I can, and it's still not enough?" And in the stillness that followed, not from the clouds above, but from something deeper within, came a whisper. "Then you rest, not because you're giving up, but because you finally trust." That whisper stayed with her. From that day on, she stopped putting her faith in branches that could break or leaves that could fall. She built her peace on something quieter, something invisible yet immovable: faith. When the storm finally passed, the forest looked like a battlefield. Leaves blanketed the ground, nests lay in ruins, feathers scattered like forgotten prayers. Birds emerged slowly, trembling, and then they saw her, the little bird stepping out from beneath the oak's roots, dry, calm, breathing, completely unafraid. "How did you survive?" one asked. She looked at them, her eyes soft with a wisdom they couldn't quite name, and said, "I didn't fight the storm, I just stopped fearing it." The others didn't fully understand, not then, but something in her voice, in her stillness, made them pause, made them wonder. Sometimes, strength doesn't look like noise or motion. It doesn't shout. It doesn't resist. Sometimes, strength simply folds its wings and believes. Maybe you're like that little bird, tired from carrying the weight of every what if, every failure, every fear. Maybe you've planned, prepared, panicked. You've tried, you've pushed, you've braced, and still
the storm comes. So maybe now it's time to stop running, to stop resisting, to rest. Not because you're weak, but because you finally trust that this too shall pass. And when it does, you'll still be standing.